effect on all the other areas. And so these things that we picked are things that kind of work synergistically. When you sleep well, your body's recovering, you can go into that workout, you might get a little bit better workout, and we're looking at just tiny gains. What would a 1% gain do if you compound that over a week, a month, a year, 5 years versus the negative? So in the program, you can dive into more about the compound effect, the keystone habits, and all that kind of stuff. But
and I'll also dive a little bit more into some of the specifics of each of those keystone habits too, like the hormonal effect sleep can have to reduce appetite, and it'll talk about what healthy fats, proteins, and vegetables can do to sort of cut those hunger cravings, so that you're not going back for something quick because your body's not craving anything anymore. And also how exercise plays a role beyond just burning calories, and how that's going to help potentially increase your sleep, and then that'll have a better effect across the rest of those. So it talks a little bit more also about how they all tie in together and really support each other too.
So the last thing we wanted to go over was kind of just some of the keys to success, and then we can take a few questions if you have any. But number one is do the work. Before anything else, just go through the program. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to sound like maybe what it sounds like. It's like, oh, you get a good night's sleep, and you go in and you wake up with all this energy, and life doesn't always work that way. It's not going to be perfect. So just do the best you can to set some time aside, and the best approach to do that is really kind of map it out. Don't wake up every day thinking, am I going to do this today? Or don't look at your week and say, am I going to have time or not? Wondering when you're going to do it. Do it.
Be specific.
Set it.
Just
yeah,
like we
set
talked
a time
about
that you know is a time. So one of my small changes real quick would be adding water. And when I added the glass of water, I chose a specific time where I knew I would be in a place where I have my phone and I could hear the alarm. And I also had a cup with me that I could fill up 8 ounces of water. So if you just pick some random time where you also realize, you always have a meeting at that time during the day, that's clearly not going to work. So think about a time where there's not going to be a lot of distractions, there's not going to be other things going on in your life that are going to overlap with that time. You have to spend it on yourself. Definitely we'll trust in small changes, but also have an open mind that this approach can work. It definitely can. It can work. I think most people who achieve, whether it's their wellness goals or it's their goals in business or in life or in relationships, it never happened overnight. It wasn't a one-time success. We always hear about that, and that's what's portrayed in our culture, but no one talks about all the tedious hours they spent getting to where they were, where they had that overnight breakthrough. But again, that's kind of just it's just a word. It's not really a reality of the situation. I talked about this earlier, but it's focusing on your identity and the type of person you want to be versus the end result, because the end result follows living that lifestyle and having those habits, be it a routine in your life. Learn from failure. There's a lot about this in the program. Several articles and videos talk about success through failure, and then just keep your head up and have fun. Definitely, again, don't think it has to be perfect, and know that you can ask us questions and you can go through the material again. You may join us for the next group that we have go through it in probably February. Will be the next time we do it again.
And then just jumping real back to the learning from failure and the keeping your heads up. I had somebody come to me that said they wanted to add 2 extra days of exercise into their routine. And this was the last time we ran through the program. And they only got 3 days in that month rather than 8. And they were just completely defeated. And I was like, well, how many days did you get in last month? Like, well, I didn't work out last month. Well, how many days did you get in the month before? Well, 0, maybe 1. It's like, so you had 3, that's a success. It's not that idea you had in your head, that number that you were looking at. but it's improvement, so looking at it from that standpoint too is, you may put down a number, you may have a goal, but understanding that, if you're new to this process, it might not be as dramatic as you think it's going to be, but if it still is a gradual step in progress, then count that as a success. If it wasn't as much as you wanted, you can still learn from, what went wrong that didn't get you to 8 or, even just get you to 5. But, if you got a few more than you had done that month before, take that as a success and, keep your head up with that, and then just make those small adjustments so that the next month it can be a little bit better. So really, looking at it relatively, how is it relative to you? Not necessarily to the number you picked or to someone else's success, but how is it relative to your life and how you've done over the last month?
And that also then, just to kind of recap on the 90%, the reason we want 90% is we really want you to focus on one small change and figure out how to get to that, this is a routine in my life, versus moving on to the second thing, without, fully having it seamlessly fit in and be kind of almost an easy thing to do. It may take a few months before that actually happens. It can take 6 months for, to make that happen. You may have 8 workouts be your goal and not hit that for 3 months, and then so the next approach might be, well, how can you scale back that small change to where it can be successful in your life? So there's, that's definitely important to know going in, because I'm working on changes that have taken me at least half a year to incorporate a new thing into my life. It's not going to be like 1 month I am super successful with this and I'm going to add that second thing and I'm going to nail it, and then it's going to be the third thing 3 months in. It's a work of progress. It may take several months before kind of you figure out something that sticks and really works for you. Any questions?
So I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The tracker form, it's the same form we're using in the end of month evaluation, or when we come and work out and then at the end
It's
of the month?
very similar, yeah.
So do you think I should fill this one out
If you're doing
separately?
the end of the month evaluation, the only thing difference I think is it has the specific changes already listed down at the bottom. So if you're doing the end of the month evaluation here, the fitness assessment, you can definitely keep using that if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's actually going to give you a couple more measurements, because you get your fitness test and then you also get
Right.
the body comp and things like that
Yeah,
too.
like that.
So yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
I really like the TED Talk.
Okay.
It was great. You talked about the woman that her strategy for conquering her cravings for dessert and sweets, where she filled out a little index card and wrote all the reasons why she wanted to be successful. And I got to think about that, and I thought, well, the point was that she developed a system that made her think about what she was doing before she did it, and gave her something to focus on rather than whatever it was.
Right.
But then I thought, no, I just can't see myself out at the restaurant and, desserts going around, and everybody's got their spoon. You know how that
Yeah.
life gets in the way, and I can't see me whipping out my index card.
Yeah.
There's a reason I shouldn't be having that cheesecake.
So
Let me tell you why.
Someone has done something similar to that. They don't have it on index card, but they have it somewhere where they can't see on a daily basis, like tape it to the mirror in your bathroom. And again, if it's someone who struggles, and we can use fitness for an example, they love when they're exercising. They're like, this is one of those keystone habits that makes me want to eat better, and so I'm eating better and I'm exercising, and then the keystone or the compounding effect of how that works to help them sleep and have a better mood and all that good stuff. Write down the benefits you get from doing that, and not only the physical benefits but also the mental benefits. It's like, I feel good about myself, I did something healthy for myself today. So write that down, and then you can also take it a step further and write down how you feel when you're not doing it. When you completely, let that be away from your life at any given time, you probably start to feel things changing. And so if you can see that, it's just, it's not foolproof, but it can help you know, if you do check that out, it's like, you know what, I do feel great when I do those things. And
So, but is that like 10 times out of 10? You know, like, okay, I passed up that dessert 10 times out of 10 instead of in the one time?
for sure. That's the kind of the 80-20% rule. It's not, so 90-10 is just with your small changes, and again, that's really, the science behind that is focus on one thing. If you try and do too much too soon, failure 98% of the time. That's not just a number we came up with. Several universities and behavior change scientists have actually done this with real people. The success goes down dramatically with each additional change you're making simultaneously. And so, you know, again, instead of the ups and downs of the extreme approach that kind of ends, you know, people wind up in the same place year after year or in a worse place, they're not going at a slow and steady approach where if you can find your average pace, at what pace can you kind of be successful at incorporating new changes that move the needle one step closer to your wellness goals. That's you know,
removing one like dessert would sort of be that. You know, you don't have to remove them all. It doesn't have to be 10 out of 10 because that could be classified as a major change because you're going from, you know, all out to nothing like that. And so yeah, taking just one away would be absolutely fine. And if you need the index card for that, that's great. You know, if you can, you know, get yourself to just pass it that one time, but that one might turn into 2, you know, after a month, and that might turn into 3. And that's sort of, you know, more what you should focus on is not, you know, this is something bad, I need to get rid of it completely, but how can I make that gradual step, because that's going to start building up much faster. So, yeah.
There's different strategies. I mean, when you build in knowing when you're going to have dessert, that can work for people because they're it's so much easier to say no when they know they're going to have it. If it's like your Sunday night treat but in reality, everyone's balance is going to be different, especially when you're moving away from something that you may not think is a positive thing in your life. So again, it's not like that the dessert is just this super bad thing for you. If you think of it as something bad and it's not adding positive energy to your life, then again, if your goal is to remove it, you take that slow, steady step to get it out. And you know, so there's different strategies, and we'd love to work with you on that to find something that works for you. But you know, what worked for one person may not be the the best approach for you. And
the planning it out, I've actually find does work because for me, I'll put alcohol and dessert on that same category. And you know, this just comes back last week. My wife, we were at the store, and there was this fudge cake, and she was like, "Oh, you want some of this fudge cake if I get it?" And I just, in my mind, I was like, "Not really. It's Friday night. I want a couple beers tonight." And so it was easy because it's like I knew I already wanted this. I had it planned out. It was built into my week. And so when she offered it, it was just like, that's going to mean that I don't get to do this tonight. I don't want to do that. And so having that, you know, just gives you that other focus sometimes too, to where now you have something to sort of weigh, you know, now it's this or this, and all of a sudden the decision becomes a lot easier.
And that,
getting that idea of deprivation out of your mind.
definitely.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Which
got to
is so
find,
negative.
you know, that balance that, you know, your actions and habits lead to who you are, how you feel, what your wellness is like, you know, what you think about it. And so again, if it's not aligning with where you want to be, there's something that can change to help you move, you know, to a more positive. And I think so. Again, it's not, you know, looking at like the desserts as the bad things. It's just what is your balance and what works in your life. And then just trying to figure out a way to make that, you know, reality. And learning what balance works for you is something that just works over time. Like, no, you don't know right now how many times you can have dessert and still align with your wellness goals. That's something you're gonna, you know, find over time. If it's something that you're constantly struggling with it, there's a good, you know, it's a good chance that it's gonna be something you're gonna want to work on to find a little bit more balance with that.
Because there's a happiness element too that you need to balance in there too. And if you're, you know, deprived driving yourself to the point where, mentally you're crippled, that's no better than, completely indulging on that other spectrum. And so, yeah, everybody does have that balance of what works for them, what builds towards their wellness. And I think you'll be surprised as you start identifying some of those things. It's a lot easier to remove and switch around and plan out things than you might have thought. For me, I know I used to, be a real sweet tooth, eating a lot of sweets. And just, like I said, making some of those preparation changes and not having it or planning it out later in the week, I just found myself not craving it because either I had something else to grab for, because I would grab for it because it was fast, or I would just say no to it simply because I knew later in that day or the next day, I already had something planned that I was really looking forward to. And so just, there's little shifts. It's different for everyone, but finding the strategies that work for you that are small and don't take a lot of, time to do really can make a big difference.
And a good starting place is kind of the 80-20 rule. So that's specific to, you're more of a balance, like positive versus things that are negative in your life, separate than the compliance.
Any other questions?
Sweet. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
And so our next talk is going to be later in the program, and it's going to be more addressing where we're going to take it, after that last month and then into sort of the rest of your life, how you can sort of apply the program to, not necessarily just wellness, but this is something that we've found has helped us be successful in business. It's helped us be successful with fitness goals. It's helped me be successful cleaning my house. But there's all these little things that it can really, if you follow that same approach, lead to change in all different areas of life. But we'll get more into how, we can take this program and transition out of it in a couple months. So until then, see you on Facebook.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely don't hesitate to ask questions because other people might be thinking the same thing. And it's really the only way to kind of strategize and brainstorm with some ideas.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Sounds like you're really prepped for snacks.
Yes, I am.
Get
Snacking
it
is
all
a big
prepped
thing
out
for me.
for
Yeah.
snacks.
Yeah. So actually, one of the things I just did this week is I made a huge stew, and so I've been eating stew quite a bit this week. And so it just, I'll go in, I'm hungry,
Yeah.
open the fridge, like, well, I've got stew. Serve it
I
up.
am as we all know, a lazy person. So that's what leaves me a big thing of soup, but
Okay.
just there's no meat in it, just like a minestrone.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been having for dinner. That's
Glad you guys came.
Yeah. Good seeing you guys.
yeah.
And sorry about the Briar Patch reference. I almost
That's
thought,
all right. I was
should
going to
say
say something. I
California?
almost jumped up and said,
I saw a little.
Yeah. Did you?
I did.
Really? Sorry.
You're
I
like,
didn't mean to do that.
It was one of those
was
overwhelming
built
days,
in.
and he goes, I gotta go see Julie, we gotta go now.
Yeah.
Good. Be ready to get you
So
closing
80-20,
down.
that reminds